Food, you eat it every day. But where does all this food go? Today, we will learn about the digestive system. So, what is the digestive system? In order to use the food we eat, our body has to break down the food into smaller molecules that it can process. The human digestive system is a complex system of organs and glands that takes in, breaks up, and digests food and excretes the waste. The digestive tract is in most animals and is essentially one long tube with two openings, one at each end. In humans, the digestive tract is very complex. The mouth is in the beginning of the digestive tract, and in fact, digestion starts here when taking the first bite of food. The teeth chew the food into pieces that are easier to digest. When saliva mixes with food to begin the process of breaking it down into a form your body can absorb and use. The esophagus is a muscular tube connecting your mouth to your stomach. By a series of muscular contractions, the esophagus delivers food to your stomach. The stomach is a hollow organ that holds food while it breaks down food into a usable form. The stomach lining contains cells that produce powerful enzymes and strong acids which are responsible for the breakdown process. The smooth muscle tissue contracts to mix the stomach's contents. In addition, the stomach tells the brain when we have had enough to eat. The small intestine is a 6-meter long muscular tube that breaks down food using enzymes released by the pancreas and bile from the liver. Muscular contractions help mix and move the food in the small intestine. It is made up of three segments: the duodenum, jejunum, and ileum. The duodenum is largely responsible for the continuous breaking down process, while the jejunum and ileum are mainly responsible for the absorption of nutrients into the bloodstream. The large intestine, or also known as colon, is about 1.5 meters long, but larger in diameter than the small intestine. The large intestine connects the small intestine to the rectum. Its lining absorbs water from the food, then sends remaining solid to the rectum. The rectum is about 8 inches long and serves as a warehouse for the remaining waste. The anus is the opening of the rectum and allows waste to pass from the rectum and outside of the body.
The first thing that happens is as you think about food goes in the saliva, and in that saliva is digestive enzyme, specifically amylase, which is what helps you to digest starches. The first stage of starch digestion is in your mouth. Now you chew your foods up if you chew them, and mix them well with the saliva, and then you swallow it. The food travels down into the esophagus before it enters the stomach. It passes through what we call the sphincter muscle, called the lower esophageal sphincter, and then the food passes into the stomach. Now when you start to think about food again, other things are happening. First, you begin to increase the mucus lining of the stomach. The next step is the production of hydrochloric acid and pepsin, and that's very important because what hydrochloric acid does when it's secreted is that it signals this lower esophageal sphincter to tighten and close, because guess what happens? You begin to churn food up, and if that sphincter muscle doesn't tighten and close, you will reflux food into the esophagus. Your esophagus doesn't have a mucus lining to protect it, so it's gonna irritate and inflame it if you reflux your food. Now the next stage is food begins to leave the stomach, and it begins to leave the stomach in small portions. So as it leaves, you have two ducts, and that's ducts, not quacking ducks. It's a duct, and these ducts come from pancreas, and that's where your digestive enzymes are produced. That's protease for protein digestion, amylase for starch digestion, and lipase for fat digestion. This process must take place in order for you to have nutrients available for your health. So what do you need to do with this digestion? You break protein into amino acid, your starches to glucose, and your fats to fatty acids.
Now the next step, food travels into the small intestine. This is where most of our nutrients are absorbed. So we have in the small intestine a nice mucus lining, and it is like a gatekeeper. And if you properly break down your protein, starches, and fats, your gatekeeper, which is the mucus lining, permits them to enter the bloodstream to provide nutrients for your body. It also acts as a barrier or a filter to keep out undigested foods, bacteria, and parasites from entering your bloodstreams. So this small intestine is crucial to the health of the rest of your body.
Chapter 3. This is the common diseases in the digestive system. Colitis. Colitis is when the epithelial tissue lining which covers the digestive tract becomes inflamed at the colon and results in the colon not working properly. It can cause diarrhea, pain, and blood in stool. Reasons for the colon to become inflamed include infection, bacteria, loss in blood supply, and failure of the body's disease-fighting mechanism. Cirrhosis. Cirrhosis is a disease that causes the liver to start losing its function. The main cause for the disease is alcohol poisoning. The results of cirrhosis include loss of appetite, weakness, tiredness, itching, and even death. The following is an example of what you shouldn't do if you don't want cirrhosis. Because you don't want this. Constipation. It is when the intestine movements are infrequent or incomplete. It causes the colon to absorb too much water from food, making stool very hard and difficult to push out. Reasons for constipation include not eating enough fiber, being inactive, changes in routine, drinking too much milk, and dehydration. Vomiting. Medically known as emesis, vomiting is the forceful expulsion of the contents of the stomach through the mouth and sometimes the nose. Reason for vomit includes overeating, food poisoning, food allergies, and motion sickness. Stress-related hyperacidity. Stress may not actually cause stomach disorders, but it can exacerbate them. Unhealthy reactions to stress can cause pains throughout the body from muscle tension and constant worry. Tense feelings, anger, negativity, and anxiety may lead to stomach problems, including stomach acid difficulties. Stress can aggravate stomach acid production, resulting in chronic heartburn or acid reflux. Heartburn, also called acid indigestion, results from stomach acid that rises up into esophagus. It causes a burning sensation in the chest and throat. Some people who suffer from frequent heartburn have a condition known as gastroesophageal reflux disease, or GERD. Causes: idiopathic, prolonged ingestion of aspirin or some anti-inflammatory drug, prolonged alcohol ingestion, eating of spicy and highly acidic foods, stress, smoking. Symptoms: belching, nausea, bitter taste in mouth, vomiting and loss of appetite. Feeling of discomfort and constant pain may occur in the upper abdomen. Anxiety, tension, and worry. Feeling of sickness. Constipation. Treatments: abstinence from smoking and alcohol is a must. Avoiding stress. Eating bland food and refraining from unnecessary medication. Medications such as antacids for temporary relief, H2 receptor blockers, and proton pump inhibitor are also prescribed by doctors to control hyperacidity. Ulcer. A peptic ulcer, also known as peptic ulcer disease, is the most common ulcer of an area of the gastrointestinal tract that is usually acidic and thus extremely painful. It is defined as mucosal erosions equal to or greater than 0.5 centimeters. Ulcers can also be caused or worsened by drugs such as aspirin, ibuprofen, and other NSAIDs. Causes: heredity, Helicobacter pylori, NSAIDs or non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs, smoking, chronic stress, alcohol, duodenogastric reflux of bile. Symptoms: epigastric pain. Pain is referred to the epigastrium and is often so sharply localized that the patient can indicate its site with 2 or 3 fingers, the pointing sign. Hunger pain. Pain occurs intermittently during the day, often when the stomach is empty, so that the patient identifies it as hunger pain and obtain relief by eating. Heartburn. Loss of appetite. Vomiting. Treatments: medications, H2 blockers, antibiotics, proton pump inhibitors, mucosal protective agents, surgery. The most common types of surgery for ulcers are vagotomy, atherectomy, and pyloroplasty. Vagotomy involves cutting the vagus nerve that transmits messages from the brain to the stomach. This interruption reduces acid secretion. Atherectomy removes the lower part of the stomach, which produces a hormone that stimulates the stomach to secrete digestive juices. This enlarges the opening into the duodenum and small intestine. enabling contents to pass more freely from the stomach. Pyloroplasty. This may be performed with a vagotomy.
You should always keep your digestive system healthy. Without it, you won't be able to eat and absorb nutrients, which is essential for life. Here are a few things you can do every day to keep your digestive system healthy. Eat foods that are rich in fiber such as fruits, vegetables, and whole grain products. A high fiber diet helps to keep food moving through your digestive tract, making you less likely to get constipated. It is also good for our liver, intestines, and helps maintain a healthy weight. Skip the bad habits such as smoking, alcohol, and caffeine. Exercise daily to help strengthen the abdomen muscles and stimulate the intestine muscles to push food through your digestive system. Activities like walking, running, playing sports, yoga, and swimming will help. Lastly, do this. Drink lots of water. Water in your digestive system helps dissolve fats and soluble fiber, allowing these substances to pass through more easily.